welcome back to Boarding with the Bernards. I'm Jodie.
And I'm Graham, and today we're off to the giant Panda Research Centre in Chengdu, China.
And to get there, we needed to go on a high-speed train from Chongqing to Chengdu.
Well over 300 kilometres an hour.
So luckily Graham had booked us some beautiful seats. They were business class seats.
When you're booking trains in China, business class seats are the highest level of seats. So you might see first class, but that's not the highest. It basically goes from like business class, then first class, and then they call second class.
Yep. So to get to the train in China, because we're not fluent in Mandarin, we booked a DD. That's the same as like Uber or something. So we didn't have to try and communicate very much with the driver, so they could take us straight to the station and get us there to the right place.
Because as you know, hand signals don't work in China. That's more like an Italian thing, right? So the hand signals don't work. Google Maps doesn't work very well at all. So DD, you can use it, put it in, and it's all in their language, and you're ready to go.
It was very simple. It was really, really easy.
Yeah, but the train stations itself was absolutely amazing, right? It was just huge. If you've ever, it was as big as most airports that we go to, and more crowded. But the real advantage of having, I suppose, the business class is they actually have a whole business lounge for people similar to your airport lounges. They have a business lounge where you'll go, show your passports, and then they'll take you into the lounge. Now let's just hope we can get in. We're checking our passports. Well, that seems positive. Is that good? We're in, I think. Jodie's in. That's all that matters to Jodie right now. Yeah, well, yep, no, and done. Oh, they're worried about me.
But the best part was that it was empty. So we just basically went straight through. They were so lovely. It was really simple. It was no big deal, really.
Now, that may not be the case if you're going to a train station in Beijing or Shanghai where there's thousands of tourists, but in Chongqing train station where we were, very, very few people. So that was a lot easier.
So when we got in after that, we entered, as Graham said, it was huge. But the thing that got me was it wasn't loud, it was very orderly, and it was so clean. Everything was pristine, beautiful, clean. Surprised me for a train station.
It's cleaner than our house, before the cleaners have been in.
Maybe.
Yeah. So anyway, so from there we found the lounge. They checked us all in. We went in, we sat down, we could have whatever drinks and food we wanted. And then 15 minutes before the train was ready to depart, we were escorted by a lovely host all the way down to the train and to our seats. Straight to our seats on the train.
We got to bypass the very long line of commuters. Yeah. We just went through a side gate. She escorted us down, popped us on our seats. It was...
And then just all the way straight to the train.
The seats on the train were amazing. It was like being in a business class seat on an aeroplane. They were lie flat. You had your own international PowerPoint. You had snacks and drinks. You had someone coming around making sure you're okay. There was a bathroom on board.
And some people got better seats than others though, didn't they, huh?
Maybe.
Yes. So I had to give up a good seat. I still had a good seat, but it wasn't the classic style business class where they're all sort of angled to the windows. Mine was a full lie flat with a lot more room, but wasn't exactly like Jodie. So you do get a slight variation even from cabin to cabin on what they're like. But it was so smooth, right? The train ride.
And quiet. It was smooth, quiet. It wasn't like our trains that we have here. It was really good.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was just so
How
smooth.
fast did we go?
I think we got up to around 305 kilometres an hour. So that's fast enough, and it did the 400 kilometre trip in about an hour and 20 minutes. Then we arrived in Chengdu, and that station was probably even bigger than Chongqing.
It was, I think, because it had the normal fast train station and the normal metro train station all together.
Yeah.
And that was clean as well. So that was just must be the normal.
That's just how it is everywhere.
It's just how it is. Yeah.
Yep. So after our train ride, we jumped in another DD and we started to head towards the Panda Research Centre. And you could just, as you got closer and closer, right, you could see as more panda art and more panda installations and everything, signboards, everything on the way to the Panda Research Centre got closer and closer. It is, how could you describe it? It is just...
It's very cute. It built the excitement to visiting the pandas.
Yeah.
It was like they just live, eat and breathe pandas. It really got you ready to and excited to see the pandas.
Yeah.
It was, yeah.
It's pandas are almost like a religion there, right? Literally 2 places in China that have those facilities and are reintroducing pandas slowly into the wild and increasing their numbers. So it is literally like a religion there. You'll see people with, I mean, full-grown adults, right?
it was little children and grandparents and
big children
and their parents and the big kids. It was every single age group.
Yep.
Was dressed in panda paraphernalia. We're talking cute little ears, like
a little panda ice cream. Let's see what it looks like, right? Ta-da! That's refreshing. It's just full-grown men embarrassing themselves. Wasn't for us.
No.
We didn't adorn the panda ears.
No, we didn't.
And I don't know what it would have taken for me to do that.
Couple of drinks.
Couple of drinks, but we're never going to find out.
No, we're not. So entering the park was relatively easy. Graham had pre-booked the tickets for that as well, just to make it really easy. And so that's less that communication part. And so all you had to do upon entry was to enter. Instead of having tickets or anything like that, we just showed our passports. And they basically then let us in.
Into the park.
It was easy.
And the park is huge. I mean, like it's massive, right? It's like, bring the line up, go through. We've got our passports out there, our ticket. So we have to wait with everyone else who doesn't have local ID card, I think it is. But sure, it's with them.
They are not really active. Usually the feeding time is in the early morning, around 8 to 9 o'clock. And
so not all of the park is open to the public. So there's a lot of the area is off limits, and that because it recreates and simulates the natural habitat of the pandas, and that's helping to sort of slowly reintroduce them back into a wild setting before, I guess, eventually they're released back into the real wild.
Because the park was so big, we got a guide to manoeuvre us around. She was amazing. She cost about $80.
Yeah, about 80 Australian dollars.
Australian dollars, yeah.
But it saves so much time, right? So they were able to take us to the right place. And spoke full English very well as well. And I think that's well worth the money that we spent, because it's just we found out so much stuff that otherwise we would not have known, just about about the history of the place, and how China sends pandas all around the world as gifts. Actually, we both first saw pandas in 1988, and that was when China gave 2 pandas to Australia as part of our bicentenary celebrations. So we learnt so much more with the guide, who was able to tell us heaps of stuff. And in particularly, one thing I remember from our first time ever seeing pandas, and ironically we were both like 10 or 12 at the time, and I was in 19.
I was younger.
She'll tell you she was younger. It was like, 1988, I think. And China has a program where they lend pandas to countries around the world for breeding and whatnot. But in Australia, it was part of our bicentenary, our 200 years of Australia. And they sent us the pandas, and we saw them. Yeah, we both saw them in the zoo in Sydney.
Yes,
yeah.
Taronga Park Zoo. So pandas like to eat and nap. I think they eat around 12 to 14 hours, or maybe 16 hours a day.
Like about 50 kilos of bamboo.
Yeah.
And poop out 30 kilos of it.
We found out with the guide.
We found that out, with the guide,
I
think initially I was like, we didn't see any pandas there, and then sort of soon started to realise that it's not unlike any other zoo around the world where the animals are they're not out there on show, which was a good thing. So they're not out there to do magic tricks and dance around and play. No. So that sort of made it even more authentic. And I mean, we soon worked out how to spot where the pandas are, right?
And the guide helped us too.
Yeah.
So when there were large groups of people right near an enclosure.
With their panda ears.
With their panda ears. And also someone with a sign. There was a sign, a person that was a staff member that would stand there with a sign.
Yeah.
So I later Google translated that the sign said, do not make loud noise, turn off flash, and do not feed.
They ate enough bamboo.
Yeah.
They ate enough bamboo.
Yeah. So and it was a very cute sign with panda on it. And so after our first giant panda sighting, we then found some very cute little lovable red pandas. They're a bit more active. Some of them were active, some of them were sleeping, but they were very cute.
But they weren't the stars of the show.
No, they weren't.
No.
But they're still cute.
They were still cute.
Yeah.
Sure.
Their little faces were adorable.
But we were lucky too with our guide was sort of really helpful, and because she was in uniform, I think the park staff helped out a lot, and when they would see her, they'd sort of let her know what's happening around, and so she was told by the other park staff where and when they was about to feed a panda.
Yes.
So we were able to sort of sneak off there and beat the crowds to the next panda feeding.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was really good. And this is a little bit funny because it was time to feed, and I think the panda was still asleep inside its little house.
Yes, yeah.
And so the staff member started throwing some food out and then went into the enclosure and was sort of trying to tell the panda that there was food out there.
Was having a discussion with the panda.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think the panda was a bit tired.
Or like a little, moody movie star who didn't want to go out and perform for a while. But I think when it hears food, it goes out.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it did eventually come out. So we got like a little sighting of it, and that was a bit closer. So that was a really good
that was
treat.
great. Yeah. Yeah, that was really good. That was very, very close. Yeah. Happy with that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then we continued on. We walked down and around, and so you start walking, and there's so much greenery, and their enclosures are really they're big and they're really good.
Yeah.
Really natural, like real plants. So it was really good. So then we got to another one, and you could see just through all the trees, this panda sitting there munching.
Just hoeing away at its food. Yeah. Yeah.
It was so cute. It was adorable.
They look so cuddly. They almost just look like they're like big, like they're humans in
panda suits.
Humans in panda suits,
That's
right?
what you're saying.
Yeah, they're humans in panda suits. They're animated. They're just eating. They've got all these facial actions and reactions, haven't they?
But they look cuter than him. There was lots of fun information boards all around the park. Some of them had names of the pandas in the enclosures, their size, their personality, like if they like to eat a lot or if they like to sleep a lot or if they're cheeky. It was really nice. It made you feel like you got to know the panda a bit better.
I think when they're not eating 12 to 16 hours a day, they're obviously pooping for 2 or 3 hours a day, and then they're just rolling around doing what they're just like. Actually, you know what? They remind me of teenagers. They're not old. They're not young and playful as much as I would have thought, but they just remind me of like teenagers in certain times of the day, just lazing around in the lounge, waiting for more food.
We did go during the warmest part of the day. That might have something to do with the not rolling around part.
Yeah, so I would sort of suggest that next time they have 2 session times there from because it is that crowded. So there is the first session times from 7 a.m. to 12 p.m. and then from 12 till 5.
Yes.
I think it was, but we had a long train ride to catch, and then I had to get to the train and get to there and whatever. So 7 o'clock was not going to work for us this time, but I would suggest possibly staying in Chengdu for a couple of days. It looks like an amazing city in itself anyway, and doing the 7 o'clock time, I think, next time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so the younger ones are more playful. The older ones, pandas can live, like 15 to 20 years in the wild, and then in captivity, they're 25 to 35 years old. I think the oldest known panda, they said, was Gia. The name was Gia.
Yep.
And that lived to 38 years, and that wasn't that long ago. It was 10 years ago now that passed away. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think she was living in Hong Kong at the time.
Yes. Yeah. Something that would have lent to Hong Kong.
Yeah.
So it was in the mid-1980s that the Chinese government changed its policies on surrounding the giant pandas because basically their numbers were dwindling in the wild. And that's when they started to then loan pandas out to different countries around the world so that they could initiate their own breeding programs. That's worked now because the numbers since that time have quadrupled and still increasing to this day.
Giant pandas were critically endangered, but because of all the amazing breeding programs that are being done all around the world and what China is doing with their breeding programs, they are now classified as vulnerable, which is amazing, with over 2,000 pandas in the wild now.
Yeah.
So they're doing great things.
Yeah, so they lend pandas out to all around the world, and they're normally sent in couples. So I think we've got some in Australia right now.
In Adelaide.
In Adelaide, the Adelaide Zoo. So they send them out, and then the idea is hopefully they can breed. Pandas it's not an easy thing to breed pandas. They're not, sometimes they don't play well with each other, they don't like each other. So if they don't like each other, it's not necessarily going to work.
No.
But if they do and they manage to have a baby, the baby tends to stay with the parent at the zoo for 2 years, and then that's when typically it'll be relocated back to the research centres in China. And that sort of all that time frame coincides with what would naturally happen in the wild to a panda of 2 to 3 years old, where they would then leave and go and find its own place.
I think it's 18 months that around the 18-month mark that they leave its mum and they venture off on their own. So about that 2-year mark is perfect for them because they'd be naturally by themselves anyway.
So you're not going to believe this, right? But pandas are not born black and white. Nope. They're not, right?
No.
Nope. They're actually tiny. So they're the size of, let's say, a stick of butter. They're like 90 to 130 grams. They're pink, blind, and nearly hairless. So they're pretty much like miniature humans. So their black and white fur develops a couple of weeks later. So they can, and then by the time they're fully grown, they'll grow up to, females will be up to 90 kilos, males up to about 140 kilos.
Wow, that's big.
That's a big boy. That's massive. Yeah.
And their fur patterns are all unique to them. It's like a human's fingerprint.
Or a zebra's stripes.
Or a zebra's stripes. Yeah.
Wow.
And in the wild, it's quite common for pandas to give birth to twins. So they give birth to twins, but in the wild, they would only be able to take care of one. But in the research centre where they're breeding them, they will take, the one that the parent doesn't choose, they feed it and they take care of it and make sure it gets enough milk and care. Sometimes they secretly swap out the baby to make sure that it's still cared for and loved, and they get the
attention of its mum.
Yeah, and increase the population. So
although pandas are like technically carnivores, 99% of their diet is made up of bamboo.
They eat about up to 38 kilos of bamboo every single day.
Which is like a third of their body weight.
Wow, I didn't think of it like that.
Yeah, so that's crazy. And so that's obviously why they poo about the same times a day, about 40 times a day.
Yes.
So imagine that's literally like rushing off to the toilet 40 times a day, every 40 minutes. Every 40 minutes. Well, they don't rush anyway.
I don't think they're rushing.
They just let it happen. They just let it happen where it happens. That's what they got the cleaners for at the zoo.
Yes. And with all that waste that they have at the research centre, they're trying to recycle as much as possible. Some is turned into mulch and fertilisers, and other is turned into paper. There's like special panda
paper.
Panda poo paper.
Panda paper. So when they're not eating or pooing or sleeping, and often pandas will fall asleep while they're eating. So they go into, what do they call it, like a
bamboo coma.
A bamboo coma.
Yeah.
A bamboo coma. They can sit, I think we saw one of them where they were literally just sitting there eating, and then all of a sudden they're just...
It was very cute.
Now, we've all done that of a night when we're maybe on our phones or our iPads.
Yes.
But I don't think I've ever fallen asleep eating.
Only when you're a baby, probably.
Oh, possibly,
yes. Cute little grown baby.
Yeah. So our time at the research centre went really quickly. So we had a few great hours there. So after our whirlwind tour of the Panda Research Centre, it was time for us to head back to Chongqing on the high-speed train.
We had a great time visiting the pandas and riding the trains. We'll see you next week.
Bye.